Alright, in this video we are going to play with the WordPress menu. I'm actually going to show you a little bit about the menu, and then we're going to implement a Bootstrap menu. So if you go over to getbootstrap.com, you go to components, and then you go to navbar. I'm going to put in a little navbar that looks like something like this with the drop down menu and things like that. So let's get started. So in the last tutorial, kind of showed you a little bit around the WordPress theme. I'm actually going to remove that red. So my site header, remove these styles here. Save that. Give it a refresh. Alright, and that's gone there. So if you know a little bit about WordPress, you can right click here. You can check out the menu structure a little bit. It's also, if you go to your theme files, and you go over to the header.php, you can see here that within this nav tags, we have this wp_nav_menu, and that's what's setting the menu for our theme right here. And you can see that the theme location is menu 1, and it just gives it a menu ID of primary menu. So if you look at it, you open up this menu here, you can see that the div ID is primary menu. That's where that's being set. And this theme location is actually in our functions file. If you go into functions, and from our first video when we kind of went over, it might have been the first or the second, when we went over the functions a little bit, you can see here this register nav menus, and you can see menu -1. That's how we're using this menu, and it's called primary. So this is what you do if you want to create more menus. You could copy this, copy that, and paste it below here, and maybe name this footer or something, and then you have a footer menu and footer. If you save that, and then you go into your WordPress dashboard, go to appearance, menus, create a menu here. I'll call it main menu, create menu. And then you see here that we have locations. So we have the primary, and then we have the footer. So that's how you can create different menu areas. I'm going to delete this for now, and we'll come back later if we create a menu in the footer, just so to show you, that disappears. Refresh, see, and then we only have primary. So that's how you can create a menu and then select where you want that menu to display. So for now, we're just messing with the main menu, which is up here. Header and primary menu. So you could just copy this code and put it in your footer, and then change that theme location to footer or whatever you named it in that functions to get more menus. Alright, so let's go into actually changing this menu to a Bootstrap menu. So before we do that, let's go into Google and Google this here so you can kind of see what kind of options it has. Navigation menus maybe. Now let's go back to the search results, and let's actually go to developer. And when I first got started with WordPress, this args kind of confused me. I didn't really know where to use all this stuff and how it really works. They don't really give you too many examples. You can see here that it says WP nav menu args. When you look at ours, WP menu, and then I have this array. So I didn't really know where to use those args. So args kind of stands for arguments. And if you read a little bit about here, you can see that this argument is an array, and of course it's optional. So meaning you don't have to put anything within this array. So if you look back at our example here, you can see that there's an array in here. So within this array, you can actually use any of these things that you want. So for example, ours is currently using theme location and menu ID. So down here we have a theme location and menu ID up here. So we could actually do other things as well. You could give it a container ID, and then in your theme files actually add that underneath this. Do something like that, container ID, and then add whatever the ID of that container that you want. So if you come from an HTML background and you've played with menus and your templates and stuff like that, this is a good way to create the HTML structure that you need to get your menu working. You can also just target the default classes that it gives you, and then create the styling for your menu. You can kind of see here that our menu isn't styled, mainly because we deleted all those styles. But in this instance, when we're trying to implement this Bootstrap menu, we go into nav bars, and then you can see all the different how it needs to be wrapped and things like that. We need a nav bar class. And what you'll find if you're trying to just implement this with the default Bootstrap menu is that you can't do some of these things. You can't put these type of classes, data toggle drop down, roll button. WordPress doesn't have those capabilities. So what you have to do is actually create a custom walker class. So I don't know if this goes over walker. Yeah, so walker class. And what a walker class does is pretty much just lets you create the custom structure of your menu. So there's a lot of stuff out there on the web about Bootstrap walker classes for WordPress, and you can just do a simple search, Bootstrap walker menu WordPress, and there's a lot of different ones. For example, the first one, you could probably go in here and grab his code. So you can see he's using a walker, new walker menu. But I have the same code as well. I have this code in my GitHub gist. If you go to gist.github.com/bragginteractive, I actually have a lot of different WordPress related things that I use over and over again, but you can check those out if you want to. But for this tutorial, we just need to use the Bootstrap walker menu. Let me show you how this works. So we just need to grab this code right here, Bootstrap walker menu, PHP. Grab that, copy, and then in our theme files, in our INC, create a new file. Paste that in there. File save. I want to save it in INC. We'll call it Bootstrap walker. Save that. You can see here, if you read through this, it's setting up a custom walker class. So Bootstrap setup walker menu extends the walker nav menu. And if none of this makes sense to you, don't worry. I mean, it's some crazy code if you're not familiar with PHP and how all this stuff works. But what it's doing is just creating our menu for us, and then it's just adding custom classes that are based off Bootstrap classes. You can see navlink, drop down toggle, stuff like that to this custom menu. So once we have it, that file created, we need to go into our functions, and then we need to tell WordPress about it. So we can just copy one of these like we did in the past. Bootstrap walker and Bootstrap walker. Alright, save that. And now what we need to do is tell our WP underscore nav underscore menu that we're going to use this walker class. And I gave an example of how to do this right over here. So you can see here that the walker is going to use our Bootstrap walker underscore menu. So this matches up with this right here. So I'm going to grab this code here, nav to nav, and we can place it in right here. Clean this up a little bit. Alright, but you see here that theme location is primary, and remember when we were in our functions, our theme location was menu-1, so we need to change that. Menu-1. You can see here that WP_nav menus, args. Remember we're using args. This is this up here, and I created an array and then put all those arguments in that array. So that's another way of doing it there. So let's save that and refresh the front end of our site here. You can see nothing's showing up because we don't actually have anything in our menu yet. So let's create something here. Appearance menus. Let's create a couple items, add to menu, set it to the primary location, save that menu, and refresh. And oh, it might actually be up here at the top. I'm going to go to settings or user, all users. I'm going to turn off that toolbar up there. Update that. So you can see here, there it is up at the top. That's because we have classes on it. Right up here, navbar fixed top. You can delete that. Refresh. See, our navbar is underneath our logo and stuff, because our logo and stuff is up here, and then we have this navigation. So if you go over to Bootstrap and you read through, you know, there's a lot of behavior that you can set to it. You can have it fixed to the top like you just saw, you know, just with some certain classes. So you fix top, go here. You can read about it. Add navbar dash fix top to the container, which you just saw, this class right here, and it actually fixed to the top. So you can play with it however you want. You can notice in ours, in our example here, we have Titan, the name of the theme right now, because we have this navbar brand and we have the blog URL. You know, we're pretty much duplicating this code up here. So if you want your logo to be in your navbar, you probably want to, you know, remove all this code, this site branding code, because you're just duplicating, you know, that brand. But if you want to keep your logo up here and then have like a, you know, a navbar going underneath it, and then, you know, this might be a good example, and then you just delete this here. Actually, let's just comment it out for now. Save that. You can see that that's gone now. You'll notice that even though I set appearance menus, I set some items in here, they're not showing up in here. That's because if you look at my statement here, my theme location is set to menu-1, but then I'm doing a little check here. I says if has nav menu primary, which is the wrong, we don't have anything named primary, so we need to actually name it menu-1. So it's looking for this. If there's menu items in menu-1, then display the menu. So now if we refresh, we can see that we have home and sample page. Perfect. So let's actually set it up to kind of look like Bootstrap here. You know, they have, you know, this top menu, and you have your branding over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to add back that class, that fixed top class, fixed to top. Add this, copy, and paste that into our container. Save that, and then I'm going to get rid of this site branding for now. We'll actually you know, come back and use the custom logo in here in the later tutorial, so I can show you how to use that. But for now, let's delete this site branding stuff here. Save that. Refresh. And there we go. We have our name of our site, home, sample page. So you can see here that, you know, some stuff is underneath it. So we need to add some, you know, some padding to our container or whatever, so it actually bumps it down a little bit. And you can actually see where to do that if you go over to Get Bootstrap, Components, Navbar, Fix Top. And again, if you read through what they're telling you about each one of these classes, you can see here that the body padding required. So it's telling us we need some padding top to the body if we want to use this fixed top. And that'll solve this issue of this overlapping. So you could go into our style sheet of body padding top 70 pixels, save that, and we'll refresh the actual site. You can see that it fixed that issue of the fixed navigation being over the top. So if we shrink this page down, make it where it actually scrolls, you can see that that fixed navigation stays up there. So that's the way to use the fixed navigation. Another thing that we could do is go into our style.css, remove the body, save that, and also in the header, remove that fixed top again, see what it does for us. You can see that it's still up there, but it's cut off. We kind of went over this in the last tutorial where it's wrapped in that container. So what we could do is get rid of this container right here and this call medium 12. So let's get rid of this container, this call medium 12 here, save that, refresh, and then we have that full width nav bar up there. So you can go to the sample page, and when the page is short, you'll see that it scrolls away. It's not actually fixed to the top. So yeah, that's exactly how the actual menu is on Bootstrap right here. And there's a lot of stuff that you can play with. The navbar inverse, you can see here navbar inverse. If we take this out, it'll be that gray color. Control, and if we refresh, I guess I gotta save the page first. Save that changes, refresh. You can see that it's still up there, but it doesn't have a background color. Navbar default will give it that gray. Give it that gray color. So yeah, that's how to add this Bootstrap menu into WordPress. I actually have, moving forward, we'll use the customizer. We'll go into Appearance, Customize, and then we'll create some panels in here and some custom settings where the user can actually go in there and change the color of that navbar. Be able to, the site identity, upload a custom logo to use right here and things like that. But that'll be in some future tutorials where we get into the customizer. But this will give you a good start on getting that Bootstrap menu into WordPress, and it's actually starting to look a little better, getting some styles in here. So I'm actually going to go back to that inverse because I like that black color, but you can play with it, and you could keep it that default and then inspect this navbar. In our case now would be navbar inverse. You can see over here that the background color is being changed. You could overwrite that color in your style sheet. So we could go into our styles, navbar inverse, background color red. There you have it. So you'll have to change some other things, but that goes back to when I was telling you when we were adding our styles. we added Bootstrap first, and then we added our style sheet. So everything that we added, any kind of styles that we add to our style sheet, like we just did, will actually override the Bootstrap styles. That's why, this changed to red, and it overwrote this background color of 222. So there you have that. I'm going to take those styles out. It was just an example to show you how that works. Before I close out this video, I want to go over a couple more things. You notice over here in this nav bar, since we have it set to static now, it's not fixed at the top, that it has these curves around the edges. That's because if you're using it as a static, you normally have it where we had it before, where it's just like inside a container. Well, in this case, we have it all the way going side to side, and we don't really need those radius corners over there. So again, in our Get Bootstrap Components navbar, there you have a static top. If you set it to this static top, or give it this class, it should take away those rounded corners. So let's see if that did it for us. There we have it. Now we have that block. It looks way better. I get a lot of questions from the themes that I've developed on how this menu actually works and why it works the way it does. The people behind Bootstraps are some smart guys, so the way that they built it is for a reason. So I wouldn't recommend editing it at all. But let me show you why I get some of the questions. So in our appearance menus, let's go ahead and add I'll go into post and add a menu and then a child of this page. So save that menu. And then when we refresh, you see that we have this little caret over here, and when you click it, you can go to that post there. But also notice if I'm on the home page, I can't click to go to the sample page anymore. That's just the way Bootstrap's set up. So the reason why it's set up actually is because when you go down to a mobile device, let's say we scroll down here, once you get to a certain breakpoint, you see that this little toggle comes over here, and you see that when you click on sample page, you have that drop down. So on a touch device, there's no such thing as hover. So you can't just hover over this thing and your submenu shows up. So same for on desktop, we do have a hover where we could hover over that and that comes down. But because of mobile menus, there would be no way to actually be able to click to go to this page and then have that show up. So that's why the creators of Bootstrap made it where you actually have to click this to go to Hello World. There's no hover state in mobile. Now there's some jQuery things out there on Stack Overflow and stuff that will make this parent menu item clickable, so you can click on that and it'll actually go to that page. But then you have the problem of when you click on that pops up, and you go to this page and this pops up as well. So it's kind of a weird UX. So I wouldn't actually recommend messing with how this works. Again, the creators of Bootstrap are smart people, and they made it work this way for a reason. If you don't like the way this works, or you need it to work a different way, I'd recommend just implementing a different menu structure. Find some different responsive menus out there that you think will fit your project better. So with that said, I think I'm going to close this tutorial out here, and then in the next tutorial we'll implement some other Bootstrap elements to our WordPress theme. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll be sure and try to answer them.